So, welcome everyone to the Speaking Easy podcast, where we take influential people with influential stories and get them drunk on camera. My name is Deuce. I'm probably still drunk from yesterday. It's been a very long weekend. And we have the one and only Runako. So he's going to go ahead and introduce himself very quickly.
I'm Runako. I'm a comedian out here in Japan. I started in Osaka. I live in Tokyo now. In Tokyo, I kind of run my own shows around the city. I'm trying to do a thing where I actually make expats interested in like building, a comedy community a little bit, learning to, when people are building jokes, you still enjoy the show, have a good vibe. I'm trying to find unique venues to do it in. Hopefully, next time I'm visiting, we can do a show here as well, because It's a nice little vibe here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So usually what we like to do is get started with a drink. I like to make custom cocktails for our guests. So tell me something you like, something you don't like, and what'll kill you. And I'll try to come up with something on the fly. Yeah.
All right. Ooh, that's okay. So I'm battling in my mind whether I'm thinking old fashioned profile or Negroni profile. Let's say bitter for like.
Okay.
Because let me try. I've been drinking a lot of shit that I'm used to all week.
Okay.
Let's say bitter for like. For don't like, I'm not feeling for anything sour.
Okay.
Yeah.
So something bitter,
sour.
something
And
not so sour.
right now I haven't eaten, so anything too sweet will kill me.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Lovely. All right, so can you kind of tell us like the story of like how you ended up in Japan in the first place? Like, where did you get your start in comedy, and like where are you kind of going for now as far as like your career path?
So I came over on jet. Pick up all my jets. You're making money. Boop, boop, boop. I came over on jet initially. Actually, I wasn't even supposed to come because when you haven't graduated yet, the only thing that you can show them is you need to get your completion certificate for university, which means you've got to get all of your final exams in within a certain amount of time. And I failed one. I failed the second semester one. But for some reason, my university was just going through some kind of admin nightmare where no one could get their certificates the year that I was finishing. So I had enough time to do the exam in summer school, because whether or not I had finished it in time, I would have never gotten the certificate, the completion certificate. So I had time to do the exam in summer school, find out that I passed it. I found out I passed it on a Monday, and the Friday I was on a plane to Japan. Yeah. So I guess I was just supposed to come, because it was just a perfect storm of a bunch of things happening. And yeah, so I came here for that. I was in Sendai for 3 years, left there, moved around a bit, then came back and came to Kansai. When I was in Kansai, I was looking for something to do performance-wise, because I used to do theater stuff. I used to do public speaking stuff when I was back in Trinidad. And when I was in Sendai, what was I doing? I was like in a chorus. I was like singing and shit at that time. As you can see, I busted my voice screaming in nightclubs, but that's all right. But yeah, I just wanted something to do. And someone where I was working at the time, I won't say that company's name because fuck that company. It's a Eikaiwa. Yeah. Someone where I was working at the time was like, hey, there's a place that does an open mic. I was like, really, I've been interested in trying out comedy because, the longer you stay in Japan, the more you just want to do shit by yourself.
I did.
And comedy is something that's creative, but you don't necessarily need a whole group of people to do it. So I went, I checked that out. They asked me to come back and keep doing regular shows with them. That was mid-2018, and I just kept doing it, fell in love with it. Then Corona hit, shut everything down.
Right.
And during that time, I was like, I think I wanna see what more I can do with this. But as much as Osaka's fun, there's a limited scope of how many foreigners you can perform to if you're performing.
Exactly.
If you're doing creative work in English, that requires you speaking to people. Osaka is unfortunately not the spot for that. So I started looking into getting up to Tokyo, headed up to Tokyo, started performing at a club there, and now branching out and doing my own shows and shit. So that's where I am. Where I'm trying to go is I'm trying to do this balancing act where I figure out my way out of Japan, because obviously there's not going to be enough money, enough opportunity, and just enough people meeting to really make a life out of doing English stand-up here. I'm trying to figure out, I have my ideas of how you got to slowly travel, do shows, make connections, till they're pulling you more and more to the point where you have enough, probably, experience to maybe get the visa out or whatever. But while I'm doing that, I kind of want to do shows here that are not too directed towards tourists, because a lot of the comedy eventually, because that's what makes money. Right. If you're doing an entertainment product, an entertainment service, unless it's kind of what you guys have here in this space in Osaka, where, as they say, it's the same 1,000 yen.
Yeah.
circulating. If you don't have that,
Right, you need the
then
economic velocity.
you need that tourism. But I kind of want to make something a little bit more niche, where it's just like expats can come out. So instead of doing material that's more broad, we can do material about stuff. I can do Japanese government jokes. I can do we have no fucking rice jokes. Like things that apply to people who live there, whether they are good or bad, but it just builds that muscle of something happening. You write about it. You test it out with the crowd. It's harder to build that muscle when you're primarily performing to tourists, kind of.
True story, yeah. So you're saying that you're trying to expand your kind of reach as far as your comedy and comedy topics as to people who are actually living here in Japan or have like some kind of understanding.
Yeah.
And it's all in English yet.
It's all in English, yeah.
Okay. All right, so before we get more into the interview itself, this is a cocktail I just came up with for you.
Okay.
It's a twist on a Negroni, but it uses Malorts. We would like a sponsorship, please. It's a Chicago bitter liqueur.
Subterra for all your Malorts needs.
We only have one bottle. All right. But it uses that as a base as long as...
Subterra, come get your Malorts before we run out.
Basically. So it uses Malort as a base as well as botanist gin, a little bit of yuzu bitters, as well as lemon essence, and white vermouth. So it's kind of like a clear Negroni, but it just uses a couple ingredients from Chicago as well. So please enjoy.
Okay. I call this a bitter white man from Chicago.
A bitter white man from Chicago. All right, naming cocktails now.
I do very much like this. This is intriguing, just the color of it. Oh fuck. It's messing with my head also because like Negronis look the way Negronis look.
Yeah.
And the flavor profile is very, very close.
Yeah.
But at the same time I can taste the botanist gin in it. This is nice. I like this.
Thank you.
I like this.
Thank you.
I very much like this.
Well, hopefully you like bitter white men too. I guess not.
Can we cut and where's your
all right, I'll leave the comedy to the comedians.
It's not the problem with the joke. I'm just like, I don't want to be like, oh shit, I still have this thing around my neck.
No, you're fine.
No, I'm just like I had this experience once where I was in Hong Kong and I was with a friend and she took me to meet her aunt, and I'm just so used to having the headphones in and I pause it and I talk to people. And I was talking to her with it in the whole time, and when her aunt leaves and we go off and she turns to me and she goes like, you had your headphones in the whole time. I was like, shit. She was like, do you think she thought I was listening to music? She was, yeah. Probably. She definitely doesn't like you. I was like, oh, all right. Maybe more conscientious of, the way I kind of approach shit.
But getting back to it, you're saying that like your comedy is more or less focused on things happening in Japan, all in English. How do you find that niche? Like, how are people receiving your comedy, so to speak?
It's not. So there are jokes that go wide. All of my stuff is observational, but a lot of what I observe is what's going to happen here. You know what I mean? I'm very much a narcissist. So I'm a narcissist. I'm an overthinker. So it's me getting out all this stuff that I'm processing most times, and then sometimes just silly shit as well. So there is some stuff that is kind of wide reaching, but you would be surprised how many times, if I try to do a P. Diddy joke, how many times I got to start by explaining who P. Diddy is.
True.
Because as far as tourism goes in Japan, like, it just runs the gamut. It's people from all over.
Right.
So, so I kind of just want to curate. I want to curate that niche, basically. I want a certain age group of people, a certain culture. I want to speak more to millennials, people who get, who get the things that I'm referring to, people who know the P. Diddy story, but people who also know take that when I say it. So if I want to put that into the joke as well. And it's not that I want to exclude anyone, but I don't want the situation to be where every joke I've got to do too much of a setup for it.
Gotcha.
And I don't mind having to do that, because that's a skill to learn how to do that. How do you get this information out as quickly as possible? But I want to be able to diversify my skills as well. So for my own branding, it's called Green Jacket Comedy. That's what I'm trying to build. Like, shows that are kind of focused towards expats. And then I can do other shows. I can do the tourist shows. I can do the military shows that are, because every other thing would have its own flavor. But I'd like to have more of a flavor of like expats coming to support the art of it building. If I can be honest, I think they've been a little bit disappointed at the rate at which things change, because a lot of people are trying to deliver just this consistently solid product to tourists. But if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of doing comedy, sometimes it's just, you know what I mean? It doesn't always seem that polished. But if you have a community that's moving with you and interested in it and coming out to enjoy it and enjoy seeing a bit develop and that kind of thing, then you can kind of start build more of a community. So that's how I'm trying to do it. And it's really just people that I meet. I'm going to more art exhibitions than I ever have now that I'm out in Tokyo. So I'm meeting other artists as well and people who share the interest. They might come to one show and never be interested in it again, but they might bring a friend who likes comedy, if you know what I mean. And that's the way it keeps expanding.
Got you. So you're saying like you've been able to build up this community and find this community in Tokyo more specifically yet. As far as comedy goes, I remember I was reading something, or I saw something a long time ago. It's like comedians should never tell their jokes in front of other comedians because they might be afraid that they get stolen or something like that. Do you guys like run into that in your community, or are people pretty open about jokes?
But how are you gonna then ever perform? You're gonna do every show by yourself? You can't not perform. That's a ridiculous concept. You can't not Some people, I've heard in the States, some people just don't go to certain rooms. But sometimes you get the situation where two people kind of hit on the same premise, or people are trying to work the same thing. I am much more likely to feel a way if I'm like, I feel like that punchline is really close to my punchline. But at the same time, we're kind of, parallel thinking happens.
Yeah.
Some people have the same thoughts. And for me, I kind of want to take that when it happens, unless it's kind of blatant. For me, I want to take that as a challenge. Oh, you had the same thought as me. I don't always, unless it's the identical punchline, in which case I'm like, what the fuck are you on? I don't say nothing because it's too small to end up with all that enmity. The scene is too small. But if I realize that just parallel thinking, your punchline ends up too close to mine, I take that as a note that maybe I went for fruit that was a bit too low.
Okay.
That someone else came up with something that was so close to mine, and I kind of, I try to rewrite. I try to see if I can find something funnier. Something that I take it as a challenge. Can you then move away from this thing that you knew was working and find something that's funnier?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what keeps you passionate about, comedy in general? Like what is the main motivation for you wanting to do these shows and getting out this comedy, specifically here in Japan as opposed to like your home country?
I want it so well. I didn't start comedy in my home country.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And also there's a small, people ask me, why don't you go back? Because, you're doing creative work here. When you're building anything from scratch, it's a lot of hardship, particularly in Japan as a foreigner.
Yeah.
So people are like, wouldn't it be easier to do what you're doing back home? But just getting that road back out to, bigger countries from Trinidad would possibly be even more of a challenge, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
I don't know if going to Trinidad would be a step backward. It would carry my profile. I would be able to perform a lot more there. Because there are people up there, a guy named Junior Lee, my friend Kwame Weeks. There's a whole scene of young people who are creating a stand-up community that there never really was in Trinidad before. They're doing amazing work. But after all the battling I've kind of done to get used to Japan and be able to finally get my way to Tokyo, where I have a lot more international links, it might be a step backward. Because if I go to Trinidad, then I have to start building that again.
Right.
All the way from zero. What keeps me passionate? I want it to be making people laugh. I really want it to be that. I really want it to be making people happy. Yes, making people laugh, but to be real fucking honest, I think most comedians that I follow and that I admire, there's a certain level of self-hate that we all have. And it is a very productive way to use your self-hate. Most times I do a show that's bad, I'm going to just hate myself until I'm on stage again and it goes well. If I do a show that goes well, I'm going to like myself for 2 hours and then I'm going to get right back to hating myself again. But at least it's not just this feeling in a fucking vacuum. I get to do something with it.
Right.
I get to then craft that into a joke and then be like, oh, here's a thought that I had and people laugh or people like it. And I'm like, oh, I'm worth something. And maybe I should talk to a therapist. But I find enjoyment in the entire process of it, I find challenge in the shit feeling because that pulls me out of the feeling of just like, woe is me, oh, you're so... It's like, no, not woe is you. You were shit tonight because you didn't figure this thing out. And I have a lot of jokes that are not perfect because I'm not as far as comedy goes, I'm very young in the comedy years. So as far as that goes, I'm very young. So I still give myself some grace. So as much as I have this level of intellectual thought about it, I know some really professional comedian come hear me, they'll be like, oh, that shit, I ain't gonna let no regular person who's not a comedian tell me I'm shit because motherfucker, you write a joke. But
Fair enough, yeah.
everything ain't got to be for you.
Mm-hmm.
But I I really, really enjoy the whole process of it. I'm having a bad day and I go into the club and I get on stage. It's so easy for me to switch moods, but it's always been that way for me and performing.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I get on stage and lights hit me or whatever, like wherever I'm in that moment,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just click very deeply into it, and it's that, and it's swimming. The only time I get to fully switch my brain off.
Mm-hmm.
In comedy, it's because I'm overclocking my brain. It's because I'm trying to scan the crowd. I'm trying to figure out what's working for who and what's working where and what should I do next and if I should move here and if I went too far on that previous thing. And sometimes it's to my detriment because I get too caught in the previous thought. I can't balance it. But it's still, compared to a regular conversation, like right now I'm constantly kind of feeling like I'm speaking jerky because I'm like, am I talking too much? But compared to regular conversation where that just makes me weird, in comedy, there's a function in my brain clocking at that rate.
Right.
And when I'm swimming, my brain is just like, we need to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two times when I'm most at peace, actually. Like if I'm underwater or if I'm on stage.
Like physically swimming, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I'm actually underwater, my brain is like, you need to breathe. And that's the thing my brain focuses on the most. And that brings me a bit of peace. And then comedy.
Gotcha.
Where I guess I'm swimming in thoughts or whatever.
No, true enough, yeah. Because I mean, like it has to be somewhat overwhelming, just to go out in front of a crowd. Perhaps they don't know anything about you.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking back to like your early comedy days up till like more recently, like you've become a lot more prolific in the last couple years, and like just watching your trajectory as far as like starting here at ROR, going to do different shows in Tokyo yet. It's been really kind of inspiring just from the sidelines to see, because there aren't too many people who are actively going after the things that they want to go after. And I feel like people are just here, a lot of people, a lot of times, they're here to a detriment to themselves. Whereas if you choose something, in your case, comedy, and just like fully embrace it, like, yeah, sure, you're going to have some shit days, like you said.
Yeah.
But then you kind of rework the wheel. You try to get it working better and put yourself in a better position and keep moving forward. Yeah. And I just wanted to say, like, I really do commend you for that, like, for real.
Oh, vice versa. Like, I see what you're doing here. Like, you have something. Sometimes I look at you and my other friends, and I look at Rosie. Can I name drop Rosie? Canalita Bakery, Canalita Sweets. I can't remember what goes after Canalita, but the best treats. You don't even need to say vegan, but they also are vegan. But honestly, the best that they probably have in Osaka. But I look at you guys that have something kind of physical. You know what I mean? It's much easier for what I'm trying to do to fall away. Because if I just suck, it's just gone.
True.
It's much easier for me to have many, and I do have many days where I just don't do enough and I don't do anything. And I've sacrificed a lot of things that would make my life stable and make me not be running from certain agencies that are calling my phone quite often because I owe them money. But it would make it a lot easier if I did a different life, but I chose this life for it. And then I have a lot of days in between that where I don't reflect that, where I don't really do a lot, because I don't necessarily have something physical that's pulling me to that spot if I don't have a show. True. So while I appreciate that, I kind of look at you guys and be like, oh no, you are actively doing it, because you got to do it every day. You got to come to this business every day, you know? So I appreciate that, but I just want to say I see the same thing in you, and it's inspiring for me to see you guys doing this thing and having something just really tangible and a space that other people can share. Kind of keeps me pushing to be like, okay, try to make your thing. You can't really hold it, but try to work so hard that your thing at least feels permanent in people's mind, so that they know that space is there. For however long I'm in Japan, that they know this space of Green Jacket comedy, and they know this space of Runako is just there. Like, you want a night off, you want to come chill, you want to just hear some thoughts. Maybe some of my shows, I encourage the crowd to come up and do stuff as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
no, that in and of itself is tangible. Creating a community, having a space where people can kind of share their own things. It doesn't necessarily need to be physical. Because at the end of the day, like, all this stuff can go away. Like, nothing's permanent. People will never forget how you made them feel. They might not remember a joke verbatim. They might not remember, you know, the exact place, the exact time, but they'll be like, I was at this place and I had a great time. Or I was at this place and had a shit time. Like, they'll always remember that. And that's tangible. Even if it's not something you can hold, it's something you can feel. So don't take that away from yourself yet.
I won't. That's good talk.
But getting into it, I think Eric might have a couple of questions for speed round. I don't know, because he's like typing away in the background here.
Come on, Eric.
I think I have any questions on the spot. It's difficult.
No, fair
Maybe
enough,
you should
fair
have come prepared with something bigger to type on, Eric.
enough.
You out there drilling on this phone like you're trying to find the clitoris.
I know he has very nimble fingers, so he might get there quicker. But since he's still working on that one yet, what is one thing that you would say to anybody that's in the creative space who wants to aspire to do anything here in Japan?
Ooh, that's a good one. Figure out the level to which you want to do it. Figure out the level to which you want to do it, and then do it as best you could at that level. And figure out what it means to you, because like for me, I am willing to be homeless for this comedy thing. Genuinely, when I say that, I'm willing to be homeless to live the life that I want. I'm a drama queen, though. I do that in all things, in all parts of my life. I'm that way. So, but if you want something that's a release for you, there's still value in working at it. You know, just don't be like, oh, I want to do music, and because your expat friends are supporting you, you just do it. You know, you do it vai. You show up. You're not trying to get better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a fun hang. It could be that, but if it really is supposed to be a creative outlet for you, really invest time into it, invest energy into it, invest heart into it. That's You don't have to do it at whatever level. It doesn't need to be the most. You know, I don't necessarily believe that this is hard. You know that.
Yeah.
You know what? This is hard. It takes a certain kind of psychopathy, I think, to
Oh yeah, for sure.
to do it, to try to do it to the max level.
Yes.
So I never judge people who do the thing that might seem safer, because the same way how this might kill them, doing the safe thing might kill me. My mental health is never worse than when I'm doing some kind of super structured job, particularly one that I don't want to do. So, and making me wear a suit and tie, especially to do something I don't need to wear a suit and tie for, like freaking English teaching. Yeah. Right? And once again, that's not shitting on that, but that's just me. And it took me a very long time to accept that I'm not built for that. Not even in part, not even to divide myself up in parts and be like, okay, I want to give this part to this and this part to this. I'm like, I can't, because it's killing me there. But you figure out to what level you can cut yourself up. You figure out to what level you can cut yourself up, and whichever part you devote to your creative thing, truly give yourself to it.
Okay.
Whatever portion of yourself you want to give that to. And I think that's where you'll find a kind of release, a vent, a thing that might end up being the thing that brings you most joy. It might be the thing that lets you vent off all the negative from your job and makes you realize that your job brings you joy. You know what I mean? But it's a muscle, the creative muscle. It's a work. It's hard work. So work it. If you're doing it, make it work. But it work that you love in that way.
No,
That's very long-winded.
It's long-winded. All right, so if I can try to condense it,
yes, please
try
do.
to be indomitable. So like, focus in on the thing that you want to do.
Yeah.
Realize what it takes to get there, and if you're fully dedicated to it, then give that part of yourself to that thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And there's different sizes to which you can be fully dedicated. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't mean that you need to then become a professional at this, is what I'm saying. If that's what your heart's telling you and that's what you want, yes. But you can do all of those things. Put your will to it. Put your full focus to it in a certain size package that still allows you to live the rest of your life in a way that's more stable, if that's what you want.
Gotcha. No, that's insightful. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, man. Like, you got to know how much you're willing to put into something.
Exactly.
And then really, like, hone in on it. And it's okay to kind of step away. You don't have to give 100% to this thing, but give 100% of this part of yourself to that thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because, when you start doing it fully and you start figuring out how many fucking jobs you got to do at the same time, I never wanted to be in any kind of managerial position. I just don't want to have to tell people what to do, because half the time it annoys me having to explain things multiple times to people.
Yep, tell me about it.
But like in doing this, I'm trying to throw my own shows. I'm trying to pull comedians on board. I'm trying to get people. There's certain shows that I kind of want to check in on what people are doing, just because the scene is young, so we don't have so many people who are operating like on a fully professional level.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of like I want to give people support in that space. I want to check in with them. I want to check in with them because it helps me build stuff, having discussions with them. And in doing that and trying to set dates and schedule things and make sure that people show up on time and go to venues and book venues, and I'm like, when did I sign up for all of this shit? I just want to tell dick jokes, man. I just want to talk about having a foreskin. That's it. That's what I came here for. But it's just so much photography and then learning to do posters and
it's all the small things that just kind of add up over time.
Oh God! Oh goodness gracious me!
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, get a team. Outsourcing, greatest thing in the world. Thanks, Eric. Always. All right, we ready with these questions yet?
Yeah.
All right, so speed round. Just real quick, is something that we'll cut up into reels later on.
Okay.
So yeah, there you go.
Hopefully, as you can see, I'm not good at answering anything real quick. So
No, you're fine.
we'll see how that
Don't
goes.
worry about it. Yeah.
Worst case, we could do like 1.5 speed.
What kind of pose do you want me in for this speed round? Do you want like a pensive or a little bit of sultry? I don't know what's a sultry. What's a sultry man pose?
So, I don't know. No, it's like the steel blue look. All right, Mr. Eric, let it rip.
Okay, just to start, how long have you been in Japan?
11 years.
Okay.
I don't like that face you did, Eric. But fuck you.
No, because I thought it was shorter because you said that you weren't in comedy for very long. That's just a premise question. For the Jet listeners, current and alumni, where were you at what year? And for how long?
He didn't do that.
Oh, you didn't do.
No,
I
no,
did
no.
do Jet.
Oh, you did?
That's how I came
Oh,
up
my
with
bad.
that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want people up in my business like this. I was in Sendai. I did 3 years, and I won't tell you which years. Yeah. But Sendai never die. Boop boop boop.
Okay, so you said you started comedy recently, but it's still a few years.
Yeah.
So since you started, and even probably before that, you've been watching the comedy scene. How is that different before you started, or like when you just started, and how is it now?
There's I moved as soon as Corona kind of was done and things started opening. I moved to Tokyo and I started in Osaka. I started at RR Comedy in Osaka, and I got a burp. I don't know what you guys are gonna do with this, but I got a burp. That's embarrassing. The influx of tourists makes it so that people can start making it depends on the size of the community. I'm touching the mic, sorry. It depends on the size of the community, the number of people. I'm gonna start this whole thing over. You're gonna cut this because
No, he's not gonna cut anything. He doesn't like editing.
Oh,
Continue.
well, now I regret saying that. Let me just stare at my drink for a little bit.
That's a pretty good one. Malort, one more time.
Malorts.
Thanks, buddy. Malort.
Get some Malorts in your shorts. Guess what I'm gonna do quick. Let me fire you 3 quick Malort tags. What rhymes with orts?
Orts? Forts.
Forts. Build up your alcohol fort with a bottle of Malorts. Do you want to go play some darts?
That's a good
That one was a reach.
That was actually pretty good.
Grab some Malorts. Yeah. So the amount of tourists that are here now makes it so that there is some level of money in doing this, but it's only if you're established, only if you have the marketing, only if you have the comedians to perform. So I don't know that they can start more clubs. Even my shows aren't always well attended because I'm trying to do this very specific thing. But for the people who have roots and have been doing it, finally they're starting to see some benefit. Because the people who have clubs and institutions here, they've been in Japan doing it for quite some time. Yeah. So more people, more tourists, more regular shows than ever before. Is that satisfactory, Eric?
Yep, that's good.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. What's the best thing about living in Japan?
Ooh. I like to tell people yakitori so I can end this conversation quickly because I don't like to make Japanese people feel nice when they ask me this question. But honestly, the best thing about living in Japan for me is just the space. It's the best and the worst thing. Like, I'm from a small island, we have a really big family, and I just really like that I have so much space to figure out exactly who I am. And then because there's so much space, it becomes the worst thing because then you lean too much into yourself and you self-isolate quite a bit. And Japan makes it easy to do that. But yeah, the ability to just, it's 10 p.m. I want to go out for a drink. I'm going to go hop a train. I don't need to call anyone else. Not for safety, not for a ride because we don't have any transport. if I want to hang with people, I can make that happen. But if I want to hang by myself, I can always do that here. And I love that.
You also answered half of the. You also answered my follow-up question. What is the worst thing about living?
Yeah, the worst thing is how hard you could, especially if you have that part of your personality. And like now, like anytime I do any work outside of comedy, it's freelance stuff. And then comedy is a single person job. It's a one-man sport. And then I like to play darts, which I can do all by myself. I do a lot of things just by. I have a podcast. My podcast is called Not Drinking Alone. And I'm probably going to lean out of bringing guests on and start doing the show fucking alone. So it's how easy it is to do that, and then you start telling yourself stories in your head about what the people around you are thinking about you as a foreigner, as a person, without sometimes even giving them a chance. Because you know they pull back first. But that's just reactionary for them. It isn't always kind of representative of what's happening in people's head. But depending on what story you're telling yourself, you then reinforce whatever idea you have about why you should stay by yourself. So yeah.
Damn, that actually hit hard. All right, next question.
Okay. What Caribbean food you miss the most?
Roti.
Ooh.
Roti or doubles, one of the two. No, and not Caribbean. I don't play that Caribbean shit. Trinidadian food. I don't play that Caribbean food. I love the Caribbean, but I'm from a very specific place, and our food very specifically fucking bangs. Doubles or roti, one of the two. Ooh, now you're gonna make me give a bunch of answers. And also just having access to a bunch of root vegetables. So cassava and like sweet potato and yams that don't cost $1 million. And eddos and and breadfruit, which is not a root vegetable, but just a lot of other sources of carbs. Non-simple carbs. I miss that. Because I ain't about this rice shit. No offense, Eric.
Okay. In Osaka and Tokyo, where do you recommend for Trinidadian food or Caribbean if that's too?
There's no.
We gotta go to somebody's house. I feel
if
like.
you're a girl and you're my type, my house. But other than that, you don't have to go get jerk. There's a jerk spot that Kanye was at recently. I'm trying to remember the name, but they kind of annoyed me the other day, when I went there. But it's called Good Something, and their food is good. Their food is good. It just they made me wait too long for service, and I walked out.
Oh.
The last time I was there, and now they're probably going to be inundated because Kanye went there. And then there's a brand that does a pop-up in a lot of places, and recently Lee ate from their spot. Nevin's is solid. Nevin's is solid. That's in Tokyo.
Okay.
In Osaka, I don't know that I've ever gone to a place for Caribbean food in Osaka. I don't really go out to eat because I find disappointment in other places in my life, like in my dating life and on stage in comedy. So I don't try to do that with food because food is my constant love. So if I need Caribbean food, I'm going to cook it myself.
Gotcha.
Okay, three more questions.
Okay.
If you weren't a comedian, what would you be?
Ooh. What's the parameters of this?
Whatever.
Like
You
would
take
I
it how you want
am I actually willing to do the work for the things that that the other things? Well, I'm also a writer. And so I don't want to answer anything in that vein because a lot of things in my comedy life are actually pivoting me into doing that. And I've started recently like working in the game industry and doing narrative design for some projects as well. So I gotta cancel all that shit out. A long time ago I wanted to be a lawyer, but I hate studying, so I can't do that. What would I that's a good oh, I know, a chef. That
seems to be a real popular answer with a lot of people we have on this.
A chef. Because my mom was a cook. We didn't have much money growing up, so I learned how to like just make stuff without the right ingredients, and I always loved doing that. So that's why like I came to Japan, I was kind of comfortable finding the closest thing and just recreating flavors that I know from home. But yeah, I just like I like how I like the way they're broken. Chef broken is a very specific type of broken, and sometimes it crosses over with comedian broken. Yeah, people treating you badly and shouting at you a lot. Sometimes you bomb.
Hopefully you don't.
But yeah, for sure, chef.
You don't have to answer But what's your favorite comedy venue?
What's my favorite comedy venue in Japan? Anywhere that Green Jacket Comedy is throwing a show, which could either be TKA4, which is a very dope community shared anarchist community space that anyone can come to at any time. TKA4 in Higashikoenji. It could be Berries called Just Another Space now in Nakameguro. Very cool vibe, laid back in what looks like a fucking abandoned building. I like really freaking like off the beaten path places. Can be Switch Bar in Ikejiri Ohashi. Yeah, anywhere I'm throwing a show, that's the venue to be at.
Last question. What's the best thing about being a comedian?
I'm gonna have to remove it in Japan from that. I don't know that there's. Oh, okay. I'm a lie. Because the scene is so young, it's much easier to get stage time. Because the scene is so young, it's much easier to get stage time. But I'm good as fuck. I'm gonna get stage time no matter where I go, son. But yeah, to be able to start, it's very welcoming. At the very, very opening of it, Japan is a great place for that because it's very welcoming. They are happy to have people who are interested, happy to have new people, especially in Tokyo because they're trying to expand their scene to become much bigger in that way. So there's that to it. The best part about being a comedian just in general, you gotta say, you get to say your inside thoughts out loud. You know, a lot of times people say you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
You get to say your inside thoughts out loud. And you pay the price when it doesn't go well. That's the deal. That's the deal. You pay the price when it doesn't go well and you get the accolades when it does go well. That's why I kind of hate people who do like, kind of want to go to work and make a sensitive joke and then be like, why is everyone so sensitive? It's just a joke. You know, I'm a fucking comedian. And even comedians, when it doesn't go well, we pay the price.
Yeah.
We feel the shame. Now you feel the shame because you made a comment about Kathy's tits. It was on work. You feel the shame in the situation because that's what you should feel. You're bummed. Maybe don't do it again.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's a whole different conversation with HR.
Exactly. Shout out Kathy and her tits though because we're not at work together, Kathy.
Nice one, eh?
All right, for Deuce.
All right, what's up, man?
We have 4 questions.
Cool.
Let's start with what's the best and worst thing about living in Japan?
Best thing about living in Japan is that I pretty much do what I want to do regardless. And that's also the worst thing because I do what I want to do regardless. So I don't really feel like limited in any way, shape, or form. But then I also feel choice paralysis because a lot of the times I just feel like there's too many things to choose from. So I don't end up doing anything a lot of the time.
All right. What food do you miss the most?
What food do I miss the most? Italian beefs. But I get to make those on a regular, like today.
And what restaurant would you recommend in Osaka?
I don't want to say because I don't want people going there.
Yo, I'm visiting. I'm going to all my deep spots. I'm like, how did these tourists get here? I literally only found this place because I was lost once. How do you know? What are you doing here?
Yep.
Get out of my izakaya. I don't even live here no more, but get out of my izakaya.
You sound like an old Japanese man, dude.
Jesus Christ.
All right. Last question.
Yes, sir.
Is also something that Runako actually talked about before we started the questions. You started Subterra.
Yep.
You're now the head bartender here, and you do all these stuff.
Yep.
What level do you want to get to, and what does that mean to you?
Ultimately, for me, I want to be able to retire myself from the actual being behind the bar, going into more of a beverage consulting kind of thing. Also doing guest shifts, working around the world, trying to work with my peers. But for lack of a better term, like this is gonna sound really bad, but like fuck most of my peers. Mostly because like it's not like I don't like them.
I know exactly what you mean.
I just want to do my thing and focus on the people and not necessarily focus too much on accolades, this, that, and the other. Like I want to put out the best product that I possibly can. I want to be able to do it freely, do it my style, and not really have to worry about what everybody else is doing.
It's like you're in competition, but you're only in competition with the standard you're trying to set for yourself. With it.
Exactly.
Like,
I did track and field for many
times. Other people can't measure for me. You know what I mean? Because you can get the direct feedback directly in front of you. Yeah.
No, that's the thing, man. For me, I'm just trying to run my own race. I could care less what these dudes are doing.
That's honestly, especially if you're trying to do, if you want to be part of the pack, that's what you got to do. But if you're trying to do something different, And that's what I'm learning. That's a hard lesson to learn too, because when you start to do that, people start pulling away from you as well. And you can start to take that shit personally. Sometimes it is personal, but I'm learning you can't fucking take that personal because it's just wasted energy. Because at the end, even if they're pulling away from you, you're not trying to do what they're doing.
Exactly.
So go figure your shit the fuck out.
Exactly.
I have one question. I have one question for Deuce.
Oh, okay. Go for it.
So for me, right? Like a lot of people don't know this because I don't really show, but I have a lot of social anxiety. People can't tell that just about me because I've been forced to perform since I was a child. So it is what it is. But when I'm on stage, I feel the freedom to like, I don't feel it. I'm comfortable. But sometimes I get off stage and I kind of like duck off, if you know what I mean. I kind of disappear. Yeah. Before and after, I can do that. How do you manage the fact that like after you serve the drink, they still want the conversation? It's not like the drink, because you clearly, I've seen that you've been winning awards. You've been really focused on your craft. From the time I realized you wanted to do this, you pivoted out of what you were doing before in the same nightlife space. But like, you know what I mean? You focused in on it. So you've done all of that work, but now you still got to do the... You know what I mean?
For me, it's always been seen as a privilege. Like, I am privileged to have this space. I am privileged to be able to cultivate community. I'm privileged to be able to do the things that I really enjoy and have people actively come and want my product. It's more than the drink that we put in front of you. It's everything else that we cultivate around it. So when I'm standing behind here, yes, I am Dukes. I am the boss here. I am the face of the business. This is what I came here to do. I'm going to make sure you have the best time possible. But my social battery is so low. It is so low. But I make a conscious effort to be on the scene. I make a conscious effort to make sure that everyone else is doing the things that they need to, like getting the service that they deserve, because they work hard, and I see that, and I want to make sure they get their flowers, because they might not get it in any other aspect of their life yet. For me, kindness is king. So when I'm behind the bar, that's my mentality. As soon as I walk out that door, headphones on, I'm in my space. That's it.
I swear living in Japan has made me autistic. Like I constantly need noise cancelling. Like when I go to Costco or somewhere, I need noise cancelling. I find myself, when I feel like too many people are staring at me, I find myself doing tics now, like I'm tapping on my leg to calm myself down. I'm talking to myself in public when I forget something. I'm like, oh, I've really done a real number on myself mentally. But no, that's I'm trying to get to there. I'm trying to get to that place because I need to, especially if I'm producing shows, I need to expand beyond just on stage. It's got to be for me from the time we open. Even when sometimes I come to set up, if someone shows up early. So I like to set up, I like to lock in and set up.
Gotcha.
But if people are there, I got to kind of turn it on while setting up. And then it's got to be until the last person leaves or until I leave. Because some of these venues, they're like, you can hang on until whenever, but I'm tired. So sometimes I leave my venue where I threw my show and there's still guests there, still hanging out. And that's what I'm trying to get better at. Like turning it on. So, I just really genuinely wanted to ask, like, is that just how you naturally feel? But you're saying tapping into gratitude as a way to tap into the energy sources.
Exactly. That's how
the perfect way to do it.
That's the way I re-energize myself. Right?
Yeah.
Like I can be chill. I can, just do my own thing when I need to do my own thing. When I'm going out, most of the time I'm out by myself. Like you were saying earlier. Like I don't necessarily feel the need to have to call up anybody. I don't feel the need to be like, hey, I need to hang out with this person today, or I have to hang out with this person today. I will just meet them, like I'll just meet them on the street, this, that, and the other. Hey, how you doing? Have a real quick catch up, back on my own way. Because the thing is, I need my boxes. And I know that this part, at least like this 20% of who I am as a whole person, is just for me. And if you encroach on that 20%, then it's an issue.
And also, the part he's not saying is there's a thing about Deuce where he likes to disappear.
Oh yeah, I disappear a lot.
You don't know what he's doing. And here's the difference between Deuce's disappear and other people's disappear. Other people disappear and they're gone. Deuce will pop back up.
Yeah.
He popped back up.
Yeah.
But what were you doing, nigga? Where were you? What were you? With whom?
This and
Why?
that. This and that.
This and that. This and that and that and this.
Yep. Just recharge.
Just a
little quick recharge.
Plug it in.
Okay, chill out. All right, so.
No, that's the Glade.
No.
That's a song for the
All right, so anyway,
sentence.
before I get canceled.
That's a song for the Glade smell thing. It smells so nice in this bar, right, Eric?
Okay.
Eric, save me. Pull me out of this.
Wonderful questions, Eric. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric.
But no, brother, thank you so much. I appreciate your time and effort.
Always. Thanks for the love. Always. Thanks for the support.
No worries. Yeah. If there's anything that you kind of want to tag, different shows, where people can find your stuff online, feel free to do that now. You got full control of the camera, bro.
Okay. Runako Universe on all socials. My website, runakouniverse.com. Green Jacket Comedy on Instagram for my promotions. I have 4 shows. 3 of them are brand new shows that I'm launching next month in Tokyo in November. The first one is called Boo This Man. It's my favorite concept I've come up with in a long time. Just because we're kind of pinned in with performing polished material, I want to create this thing that's not necessarily an open mic, but that's a new material show where comics can do longer material, but I want to encourage the crowd only in this space to heckle them. Because I want them to get a little bit more immediate feedback. Usually expats are really nice to each other. So I want people to be like, I don't know what you're talking about. You lost me. Boo! Next joke. And I think I'm gonna challenge the comedians to never respond to it. To do no crowd work. So you can just get 100% raw data and you can choose to take it or leave it. But I think it'll be a fun experience. Even for me, I'm scared as fuck to do this show that I've made. But even for me, I think it's gonna steal my back a little bit, make me a little bit stronger and also give me really quick feedback.
Yeah.
So that is November 8th at TKA4 in Higashi-Koenji, Boo This Man. November 16th, show number 15 of the first show I ever started producing, Runako's Big Comedy Line. It's a storytelling show. We do a different theme every show. This show, it's situationships. The comedians come, they tell their best stories, and then the crowd gets to tell stories, and the best crowd stories win prizes.
Nice.
So that's November 8th, Boo This Man, Higashi-Koenji. November 16th, Runako's Big Comedy Line, situationships at Berries or Just Another Space in Nakameguro. And yeah, that's what I got going on.
Cool. Well, once again, thank you so much, man.
Thank you for having me. This has been fun. Thank you. Oh, is this going on the menu?
We'll see.
Yeah.
I got to get more raw data.
I think this is, because this is a very, I hate to use this word, but Instagrammable, So this is trade-off conversation, right? At some point, they're just going to cut and put some music over this.
Something like that.
Keep talking.
But yeah, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you guys always. Remember, stay hydrated. Be respectful always. Take it easy. Cool.
That was good. Sorry for breaking the fourth wall so often.